You're listening to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert with Tom Viola. Listeners, welcome back into another episode of Fast Facts, Ask the Expert with Tom Viola. Tom, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We're going to talk about an oldie but a goodie. So this is a little insight into Andrew's naivete. I didn't hear about methamphetamine, until I went to hygiene school. And that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. It's never been in my circles. It's never been, I know it was popular. I know what was going on, but I remember sitting in class and then they started showing meth mouth. And I'm like, oh, well, that is unfortunate for that person. That does not sound like a good thing. And then it kind of seemed like everywhere you go, people are talking about it. There are people that are using it. And it became a bigger and bigger issue. It seems like we talked about in a previous episode that maybe people are finding new drugs and new uses for other drugs and things like that. Is methamphetamine still an issue that we need to be concerned about? And if so, can you just review with our listeners kind of like the signs and the symptoms and the things that people are going to be presenting with other than the obvious decay?
Absolutely. When it comes to street drugs and illicit drugs, my saying is the more things change, the more things stay the same. So, some drugs they don't really go away. They just sort of fade and come back to life. And that's the same thing with cocaine. I mean, cocaine's been around since the 70s and the 80s, and it's still going strong. Methamphetamine came and went, Breaking Bad, Walter, the whole thing was kind of romanticized, and then it came back. Methamphetamine is back, and it's bigger and badder than ever because, there was a time, and I'm sure you were aware of this, Andrew, late 90s, early 2000s, people were making meth at home. They were making it in clandestine labs in their kitchens, in their bathrooms, in their basements. And for the most part, that does still go on in some parts of the country. But now there's sort of an industrial grade or commercial grade methamphetamine that's being made. Again, I don't like to pick on anybody's nation, but Mexico, Canada, we are the biggest drug market in the world. And so countries that border us, and again, I put Canada as well as Mexico and then some Central American countries, this is a great place to make methamphetamine because methamphetamine is easy to make from chemicals that are widely available abroad, particularly China and other countries. So the chemicals are shipped into those bordering countries. The methamphetamine is made on an industrial scale and then is shipped into the United States. The thing about making methamphetamine on an industrial scale is that it's been, from what I've gathered from the people I know at the DEA, that that form of methamphetamine, it has a much higher level of phosphorus, which makes it more of a milky white instead of an ice crystal, as we like to refer to, crystal or crystal meth. That phosphorus in itself can prove problematic because, we've been worried about meth mouth all these years, saying, methamphetamine causes meth mouth. Well, it's not the methamphetamine that causes the meth mouth. Methamphetamine made in a crude, clandestine lab contains lots of caustic chemicals like red phosphorus, sulfuric acid, lye, because it's made from household products like oven cleaner and road flares and batteries and muriatic acid. So the methamphetamine that's available now, this industrial grade stuff, or what's called super meth, has some of those caustic chemicals in it. But here's the thing. Meth mouth was caused by those caustic chemicals that when those crystals were ignited, were released into the vapor, which then, basically you gave your teeth a bath in red phosphorus and sulfuric acid, which is what dissolves your enamel and dentin and ultimately leads to those blackened roots that we call meth mouth. So it never was the methamphetamine, it was those caustic chemicals that caused the degradation of your tooth enamel and dentin. This super meth contains a lot of phosphorus, and if you remember the days of Fosse jaw way back in the 1800s, you realize that phosphorus can be bad for our bones, specifically jaw bones. So now I'm concerned that patients who use this industrial sort of grade methamphetamine may have more problems with not just meth mouth, but also with their jaw bones. And we've already got enough issues with jaw bones with ONJ and other issues as a result of bisphosphonates, Prolia, Evenity. So, I think the dental professional these days has a lot more to worry about with methamphetamine because in addition to the things like, an increased body temperature, pale skin, the obvious signs, weight loss, we're looking at dry mouth, we're looking at hypertension and hypertensive crisis, we're looking at tachycardia. But now we've got the other concerns in the fact that this new form of methamphetamine can cause more dental problems than we're even aware of.
Wow. I thought it was going and going to be, soon enough gone the way of the dodo, but apparently we have super meth now. That's fascinating. Tom, thank you so much for being just a fountain of information. If anyone had any follow-up questions or concerns they wanted to relay on to you, how can they find you?
Anytime they can reach me on my website at tomviola.com or on social media anywhere at Pharmacology Declassified. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to Fast Facts Ask the Expert. If you have a topic you'd like one of our experts to answer, simply email me, Andrew at ataleoftwohygienist.com, and we will get it on the air as soon as possible. Thanks for listening.